Welcome back to the Superheroes Everyday Podcast. I'm Danny Horn. I am here with Ryan Steens of the Signal Watch Podcast. Hey, Ryan.
Hello, hello.
Hey, we have our rage back under control, and this is Act 3 of the 2003 Eric Bana punch-drunk epic Hulk. And if you need another flashback within a flashback, here's what happened in the last episode. It's like if the second location is actually the first location. And you just walk right in. Like, you clearly should not. No one should be in this crack house.
Ang Lee talking excitedly about his Hulk dogs. That was like really my first inkling that maybe this wasn't going to go so well.
And the thing about a car, once you're inside it, is that you can actually like turn the key and drive away and go somewhere else where there isn't an infestation of evil dogs.
He seems to have just recently gone from I should kill it to let's just see what happens to now he's like, I think I might love my son.
She calls her dad and says that she needs his help, which is obviously the wrong move because General Thunderbolt Ross is not in the business of improving situations. All right, let's get into Act 3. And I would like to start with an observation about on-screen parent murder, which so far on this podcast we have seen distressingly often. Ryan, you haven't heard all the episodes yet because they haven't been released, but this is the 5th episode that I'm recording. And of those 5 episodes, 4 of them have on-screen parent murder, and the 5th one has mysteriously absent parents. So we have had, you and I did Man of Steel, Jor-El and Lara get killed. X-Men First Class, Eric's mom is shot by Nazis. Batman Forever, Thomas and Martha Wayne murdered in the alley, and now Hulk. Edith stabbed in front of her 4-year-old's eyes. So that's 3 moms and 2 dads murdered in front of an audience of children in every goddamn movie. The 5th movie is Steel, which does not explicitly have parent murder, but Johnny and his little brother are living with their grandmother. So it is likely that their parents were murdered as well. Glenn tries to take charge, and it goes about as well as you'd imagine. He's like, put him to sleep with gas, and like that, obviously that doesn't work. And Glenn says, like, we have to lock down. Did you hear what the general said? I said lock down. He's going to get a sample one way or another. They spray foam. So now Bruce is like kind of wandering around in the hallways, and soldiers spray like quick hardening foam at him, which kind of traps him in the middle of a corridor. And then here's Glenn with this big ass scary enzyme drill. But the Hulk punches his way out of the foam, obviously. And then Glenn like tries to shoot a rocket launcher, which rebounds off Hulk and blows up behind him. And then there's a shot of like the fire behind him, and he kind of turns into a cartoon, and now he's dead.
Yeah, that was an interesting, like, of the things they did with the comic panel stuff, that one seemed to me to be the one that never should have left the edit bay.
Yeah, that was a real choice. Yeah. Where you show him, basically they show him frozen like in a comic panel, and then behind him the fire exploding.
Yeah.
And he's kind of frozen in the middle of it.
And he's even given kind of an outline to his shape around the fire. Yeah, yep. It's very strange.
And now, since he's dead, guess who's back in charge? General Ross! Hooray! He sends in more soldiers with guns to fight the Hulk. Like, bullets bounce off this dude. You know that. He's a damage god. And so now Hulk is doing to this facility what should always be done to all facilities. He kicks a cart, which I think is full of plastic explosives, because it all blows up. I don't know why you'd store all of that plastic explosive on a rolling cart, but that is a classic facility issue. And then the Hulk is just like picking up heavy things and throwing them like he's supposed to. And now he is in charge of this entire goddamn place. And then Ross has a not brilliant strategic idea, which is let's use the lighting to encourage the Hulk to go up the escalator, out of the facility, into the open air, where we can shoot at him ineffectually with helicopters, and he can just rampage around the landscape, murdering everybody. And now he is on the loose.
I think Ross's strategy makes sense. If you're in a world where you don't know what a Hulk is, we know what a Hulk is. So we're all going to have a good laugh at that. But the general doesn't know what a Hulk is. And all he knows is his people are all about to get suffocated and smothered if they stay in here with this rampaging monster. If we show him the channel out of here, He'll go out there, and we have tanks, and we have helicopters, and we have airplanes, and we will no doubt destroy this guy. And they don't do much though in the oncoming scenes to have them reflect upon how ineffectual they are.
Oh no, quite the opposite. Ross,
Yeah.
the more that Ross screws up, the more powerful he becomes. So Hulk is out there. He's gone topside. He looks at his old desert base house, and then they start shooting missiles at him. And this is great for me because this is the moment watching the movie when I was like, I love this level. This made me very nostalgic for the video game because this was the best part. The Hulk jumps really, really far out into the desert, and there's all these bullets and bombs, and then the tanks. And he picks up a tank by the gun and just lifts it up off the ground, and he twirls it around in a circle, and he throws it way off into the distance. And then ping, at the top left of the screen, we just got a PlayStation trophy. That is clearly what just happened. And this is clearly a video game because American soldiers, for the next, I don't know, 45 minutes, American soldiers are being brutally murdered on screen by the hero of the movie. Like, there are people, supposedly, in all of these tanks and helicopters. These are like human beings with feelings and families. We are not encouraged to consider that for a moment. They are just tanks that you can throw around. As always, in superhero movies, bloodless murder with no consequence.
I mean, it's fighting with the thing that they need the Hulk to be heroic and not just a mindless monster.
But this is the fun part. This is that. So this is why I think like this is why this was a video game and it was super fun, and why I actually do like this sequence just because I'm nostalgic for the game of like, this is what I came to see, y'all. Like, this is, I don't want any more dream sequences. I want to see the Hulk picking up tanks and throwing them around like that. It's great.
And this movie is the one that's feeling out the waters for how all of this is going to work. That kind of informs what Feige does later, which is we need the Hulk on screen much earlier, and we need him doing fun, cool things people wish they could do if they were green and bulletproof.
Yes.
They wait until I think this happens like 45 minutes before the end of the film.
Before you see him having any kind of fun.
So that's a long time to wait for this.
Yeah, it is. General Ross calls the president of the United States. And honestly, the idea that anybody is still taking calls from General Ross is amazing. So he says, I request a national command authority override. Angry man is unsecure. I need everything we have at my disposal in order to stop his movement. And it's like, dude, you're the one who let him go. You specifically 5 minutes ago gave the order to let him out of the facility. Is there a more useless character than this in all of fiction? It makes sense to me that General Ross is calling Washington because he is clearly one of the Washington generals. That was for you.
I appreciate that. Thank you, sir.
There you go. You're so welcome.
Wow. But yeah, I don't know if I completely disagree with his, like, I don't want all my people killed in my cool underground army fort.
No, you know what you want?
I made a bad decision.
You know what you want? You want everyone in Utah killed.
Yeah, but I also think that there's beats that they're missing here of like him going, oh no, he just jumped a mile. Like, he didn't know he could do that.
You're so right. This is what is infuriating about this stupid character is that he fails and fails and fails and fails. Like, it's nothing but failure. Every single thing that he does from half an hour ago until the end of the movie. And he never for a moment has a second of like, oh, okay, maybe I should have. No, he just continues to make these declarations of like, we're going to take him down right now. Learns nothing. Hulk is just running around the desert. He's doing platform jumps. This is now like the platform jump part of the video game. Ross is in a helicopter saying completely useless army stuff. He says like, I want this target stopped in its tracks. Okay, thank you. Yeah, good idea, dude. We'll get right on that. The helicopter fight. Choppers arrive to do battle with the Hulk. And I'm like, wait, you guys haven't figured this out yet? Like, destroying a helicopter, you hold L1 and then it's circle, circle X. Like, he unlocked that upgrade when he finished the Talbot scene. So they fire rockets at him, which causes like some gravel to fall on him. And then they decide that he's dead. And everything is fine.
If nothing else, you would have thought they would have been like, we're in helicopters, let's land them
and go check it out.
Let's wait for backup, and then we're going to go in to poke the corpse. And instead they're just like, Job well done. Let's go to Arby's and fly off into the sunset.
But then 20 seconds later, reporting to the general, oh, he's on the move again. Fucking useless. This character is the worst ever. Ross calls Betty and he says, Bruce got out. And Betty's like, you don't say. And he says, well, I think he's headed your way. And she's going to a base. This is a different base now. I guess she's going to a San Francisco base. This place is full of bases. By the way, I would like to take a moment right now to point out that once again, we're watching a superhero movie and he does not fight crime. I just want that on the record. Welcome to the Bay Area. Again, this is a superhero movie, so they have to fuck with a tourist attraction. And this is the most realistic thing in the entire movie. Hulk jumps all the way to the Golden Gate Bridge, and it's hidden in the fog, and you can't see it, which is great. Because I live in the Bay Area, and that is super realistic. I'm looking at that, and I'm like, yeah, but it's so nice in Oakland. Yeah, no, the bridge is all foggy, and you can't see it. Just go to Oakland. So mean army planes come, and they try to shoot the Hulk. Pew, 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 pew. Because they have learned nothing. Hulk jumps off the bridge and he grabs onto a plane like he's making love to it. And he is now just humping this plane.
Well, the reason he jumps onto the plane is because he realizes that plane was about to crash into the Golden Gate Bridge.
Yes.
And he, by throwing his mass into it, he keeps it below the bridge and it cruises through. The Hulk's entire deal is he's made of rage.
He's going to smash
something. The only time that no one is mad in this movie is when we see CGI Hulk.
Yeah.
He's not mad. He's irritated with what other people, but he seems otherwise fairly placid all the time. When he sees Betty like in her cabin, he's like being like a skittish 3-year-old who's like, oh.
Right, yeah. No, he's not like a rage monster. Yeah. Ross is the rage monster.
The Hulk himself is never like ragingly angry. He doesn't feel like his power is coming from a sense of fury. It's coming from a sense of I got to get the fuck out of here and nobody will leave me alone.
And you guys are fucking with me constantly. Yeah. I don't know why Ang Lee is addicted to these rage characters in this movie, but it would be really nice to have a scene with a character who had some other emotion.
And the only one we get is the Hulk when he's...
I mean, Harper... Although Harper's he's just kind of being passive. He's probably furious as well. He's just being passive aggressive about it. Just lying in the hospital being hurt. Like a dick. Hulk is now riding a plane. On the radio, Ross says, you got him now. So he is clearly having a hard time with pronouns. This is the Hulk. You don't got him. He's got you. That is how this works. And so Ross, tactical genius, says, hey, why don't you fly like really, really high? And we'll see like if the thin air, it does anything to him. And the answer obviously is no, it does nothing of any real consequence. He is stronger than you. Knuckleheads. This is a fact that they have a very hard time accepting. He does eventually lose consciousness and he falls, but he's fine. And he just like falls down back to the bay. And, I bet he doesn't even remember what he was angry about anymore. Just let him be. He'll tire himself out.
And it has while he's falling, he has the sequence that they had as a teaser trailer for the movie, which is Eric Bana shaving again and then wiping the steam off the mirror and the Hulk's on the other side. And it's this kind of cool sequence you can imagine was used to sell the movie, but it doesn't feel like it has anything to do
with what's happening right now.
Or even the version of the Hulk that's in this movie. There's a version of the Hulk that keeps suggesting exists, but that Hulk is from a different script.
Because what happens in this dream sequence is that like he's shaving and he wipes away some of the mist, and the Hulk is there, and the Hulk like reaches through the mirror and grabs Banner and says, puny human, in a way that indicates that he has an antagonistic relationship with Banner, which is not the case in the movie at all. The Hulk in this movie is clearly an expression of Banner's annoyance.
It's from a version of the movie, if that would be taken from the early comics, where the Hulk and Banner were two completely different beings, like Jekyll and Hyde sharing a body.
Right. And the Hulk finds him like pathetic.
Yeah.
No, the Hulk is on Banner's side completely. Yeah. Yeah, so this is like Saturday morning cartoon grade scene making. So Ang Lee thought that he was like an artistic director. He thought he was making something significant and mature. He wants to indicate duality, so he does a dream sequence with a mirror in it. Dude, dude.
It's a little film school screening
You
moment.
need
Yeah.
you need to dig deeper than this, I think. Hulk falls into the bay. Explain this if you can. Hulk falls into the bay. Then he's underground, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And he comes back up in San Francisco
Mm-hmm.
from underneath.
Mm-hmm.
He's on a hill.
Mm-hmm.
He's in Haight-Ashbury,
Yep.
which is right in the middle of the city. He is as far away from the bay as he could possibly be and still be in San Francisco. How did he get all the way up there?
It's well known, Danny, that there are Hulk-sized tunnels beneath San Francisco that run directly underground.
You can access, yeah, all the way up to the Painted Ladies. And it's not foggy anymore. It cleared right the fuck up for this scene.
Yep.
More helicopters, and Hulk is looking around and unhappy, but he looks up and he spots Betty riding in a helicopter. And they make very deep eye contact from very far away. And which I find very amusing because it feels like, was he just making eye contact with like everybody in every helicopter? And it's like, oh, hey, I know that girl. And so he stops because he sees Betty.
When I was in film school, the wise Richard Lewis, who taught one of my classes, said to us, a movie is good in inverse relationship to the number of helicopters in that film.
And he was entirely correct.
He was
That's
Richard
great.
Lewis is a wise man. Yes.
He really is. And so he stops because he sees Betty, and the entire United States Army is there. Like all of it is there with guns. Betty arrives walking down the steps with her fluffy hair blowing in the breeze. I don't know if you noticed this, but her hair all of a sudden is like this completely different character, and they just keep like puffing at her because like the more she gets more powerful, the bigger and fluffier her hair gets.
It's a weird thing because when we meet her, her hair is pulled back into a very tight ponytail, and she has like the kind of hip bangs hanging down.
Yeah.
And here suddenly she has gone like full, like, you don't know who Erin Andrews is probably, but she's a sportscaster with magnificent head of hair. And this was kind of the beginning of Erin Andrews. It was this era. And I was like, oh, she's got the Erin Andrews hair. Like that's
And you see her then from like another angle, and she's still got like some of the wind flipping. I guess it can get kind of breezy in Haight-Ashbury, but still. And so he just turns back into Bruce, and now he's nude and sad. And Betty and Bruce hug and they cry, and the soldiers are all kind of like tiptoeing up, doop, 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 like when he's not looking. And this goes on for a lot longer than you would expect that it would. Here we are at third base. This is a surprisingly base-heavy movie. We go from one facility to another this entire time. And so I'm gonna need your help. I know I'm doing a lot of the description. I'm gonna need your help with describing what the fuck this next scene even. It's night. It's nighttime. He's somewhere. Is he outside? He's tied up to a chair.
I see your problem.
Explain anything. I have no idea what I'm even looking at.
So what you're looking at is Ang Lee decided that now this is going to be a one-act play about a father and son who don't get along, and it's going to be minimalist.
Right.
And that's what we are going to bear witness to as a very bad partner scene.
Yeah.
That is going to start feeling concrete and immediately get absurd.
Right.
So to do this, he creates a space that can be completely blacked out as if you're in a black box stage.
Yes.
With Klieg lights pointing down at them, and a giant contraption that is supposed to electrify Bruce if he starts to act funny.
Right.
And because they've learned nothing. And
right. But there's a thing. So it's two chairs. So now David is coming in. I should say that. So they have brought David in for some reason.
He has asked for the compassion of the general, who is also a father, to let him see his son before both of them are put to death or whatever.
Right.
None of which seems like would have been granted.
No, absolutely not. Also appealing to Ross as a father.
Yeah.
He has a gorgeous, perfect daughter who he fucking hates. So I don't know. You're barking up the wrong tree on that. But it's these like two chairs, it's like wooden chairs facing each other on this big platform, and then behind each of them is like a big like electricity contraption.
Yeah. They're going to act out their little psychodrama. But yeah, it's so weird. And then you can see Ang Lee going, I want to tear this down to being the base of what this film is really about. And that's about the rage between a father and son and their shared generational trauma. If one of them's a Hulk and one of them's a molecular monster, it's a completely weird, arty scene. And in a really weird part of the movie, and I think you can feel Nick Nolte's frustration with Eric Bana in every second of this scene.
This is the end of the movie, and it's just the dumbest possible scene. If they had asked me, come up with the stupidest ending for this movie, I would have said sombrero rap battle, where they both put on sombreros and thick mustaches, and it's like a three-way rap battle. And that would not be as stupid as the ending that they actually use. It is not even close. This is like David Banner, terrible lunatic David Banner, asking for one last chance to speak to his son. And they have this insane heart-to-heart, which starts with, I should have killed you. I should have killed you. I wish you had. Which is not helpful. And they have the most insane conversation. So Bruce says, like, I saw her last night. I saw her face. Brown hair, brown eyes, which admittedly is a pretty common combination. She smiled at me, and she reached down and kissed my cheek, and then Bruce starts to cry. And then David says the most crack-ass nonsense. And so here's, Nick Nolte. He's terrible in this. It makes me so angry how bad he is. I didn't come here to see you. I came here to see my son. My real son. The one inside of you. You're nothing but a superficial shell, a husk, a flimsy consciousness, ready to be torn off at a moment's notice. And I'm like, why did they let him come in without a chaperone?
It doesn't, I don't. And once he starts ranting, why they don't go, all right, this is over with, get him out of it.
He's clearly trying to bait Bruce into changing, which is specifically the thing that they don't want him to do. And for a while watching this, I was like, is nobody listening to this conversation? And then we see them in a control room, and yeah, they are listening to it.
Yeah.
So why are they allowing this?
Everyone likes a good one act play.
It goes on and on. So now here's Nick Nolte saying, look, my cells can absorb enormous amounts of energy. I gave you life. Now you must give it back to me, which isn't the thing. Only 1,000,000 times more radiant, more powerful. You in me. And then he talks about how much he hates the military and how much he hates religion.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like he's going kind of QAnon. And this scene goes on for 6 minutes.
Is it really?
6 minutes on the clock.
Wow.
Here's the worst part. Bruce starts to just kind of like shake and cry. This is the worst moment in the movie. Nick Nolte sits back down in his chair and imitates Bruce as like a wailing baby stamping his feet. Like, I can't even explain. It's just the worst thing.
I don't hate that. That's when it really starts to feel to me like an actor making a choice that is, it's unconventional for a superhero movie for sure.
Ugh.
But it also feels
like he's just upset with Eric Bana.
He's upset with Eric Bana. He doesn't like the choices that are happening. And I think they caught that on film right there.
You're right. Yeah.
One of the things that they always say in acting is anger is the easiest choice.
Yeah.
Like you can always have a scene with two people yelling at each other and it's dramatic. But if you have a scene of people who are locked in some other kind of tension, but they're not showing anger, they're showing other emotions, that's when you start getting nuance. And I think when you have him do that, it's Nick Nolte's attempt to change from
the dynamic.
We're not going to be the gorilla and the dragon beating on each other. We're going to be I'm going to change the energy of what's happening in this scene because I want something else.
But then he doesn't.
I don't know how that got workshopped. I don't know how it ended up happening. It's wild to see something that you would see probably in like a stage production, but to see it on film.
Yeah.
It's so hard for me. Fascinating. Whenever I think of this movie, it's the only thing I think about is that moment.
Yeah.
Nick Nolte making that acting choice and just being, and they kept it in the film.
Yeah, I know. That's amazing.
And it's abusive. It's completely dismisses everything that his son is supposedly feeling. So yeah, I kind of like it does a lot with like just this like sound that's not even
Yeah.
scripted.
In this rant, he is now like tearing off the mask and he is full like Yosemite Sam, just furious at this guy. I hate him so much. And all I want is to suck your soul out of your body so that I can partake in your essence.
And that's where I get confused because I'm not sure he actually wants that, or if he's putting on a fiction to get his son to that point with the intention of, I now have the ability to absorb things.
Yep.
And I don't know if he's trying to duplicate the Hulk's power or he's trying to steal it from him, because he sounds like he's a vampire.
He says many times, I feel like this is probably the most clear thing that there is. He says many times, like during this part, and then during like the next part of the scene later on, where they're, I don't know, under a lake or wherever they are. That yeah, he is saying, I want to take all of your energy. I want you to reflect back to me a million times over, and I will feed on that and drain it from you, and then it will be inside me.
And which would leave him as a normal guy if that happened.
I have no idea. I don't know.
And so there's this
you know what, Ryan?
Really, yeah.
Stop your bawling. You weak little speck of human trash. This is how we behave to each other now. I'm being influenced. I'm very easily influenced, and I'm being influenced by the terrible characters in this terrible movie. David gets tired of it. I just don't want to talk about this anymore. David gets tired of it.
I get it. I get it.
We're both just furious with each other now. David gets tired of it. He picks up one of the power cables, and Ross yells like, "Hit it, go!" And they make electricity go through the cable, and David eats it. He just he literally puts his mouth on it and just slurps it all up. And Ross is there and once again makes a fucking tactical decision, which is do it again. He just told you that he absorbs energy. These people do not deserve a facility.
No.
They just don't.
No.
And Bruce just sits there and screams, and Nick Nolte becomes a gigantic electro energy monster.
And this is where it gets kind of wild for me, because this is where I was like, are they trying to do like a Zeus and Hercules thing? Like,
I believe that they have no idea how to end the film. In the last 45 minutes, like, Hulk has been fighting the army, and Hulk has been fighting Nick Nolte.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, Hulk is still sitting right there. The army still sitting right there. And Nick Nolte sitting right there. Nothing has changed in the last 45 minutes. They can't kill the Hulk because we can't have the Hulk killed by army men. And the Hulk can't kill everybody in the army. And so they set up David to go nuts and eat electricity so that we can have a big monster fight at the end. Because clearly the only way that we can end this is screaming with monsters. And so they just turn him into a monster. So now he can do that.
It's one of the first superhero movies I can point to that turns into a senseless wizard battle where nothing makes any sense for the next 10 minutes.
Yep. David turns into a rock, and then he turns into water, and then he turns into like a glowing energy being. And he's kind of still taunting Hulk and saying, like, the more you fight, the more of you I take. And that's when Betty is like looking at some screen somewhere and says, they're absorbing all the ambient energy, which I don't know what the fuck that means. And then it's just this scream fight of David says, give me your power. And Bruce says, you think you can live with it? Take it all. And then they're just both like, rah! And that is honestly, it's the perfect way for this movie to end, is just like both of them mindlessly screaming at each other. And then they get hit with a gamma bomb, which I don't know why that happened, but I guess it did.
I think the idea that was pretty concrete of, we got both of them in the same place. Let's drop a nuke on them.
But again, everything that we know about these two monsters is that gamma radiation is not a bad thing for them.
Yeah.
He just told you. First, he told you, I absorb energy. And then he told you again and again and again. And then he showed you that he absorbs energy. And there's Bruce underwater, thinking about how terrible his dad was. His dad is dead, I guess, somehow. We finally get to see Eric Bana's shirtless body floating in the water, and it is much too late for me to give a shit about it at this point. It doesn't help me or him.
It's also the sequence where he flashes back to his father, like loving him and kissing him.
Yeah.
And that's where I was like,
No.
started like playing the movie back in my head, going, wait, is this movie trying to say something completely different from what I've been reading it as? It was part of what made me reconsider what is David Banner's actual motivation, not what is he saying.
We need him to write it down in a
Yeah.
notebook. I would, oh my God, if only we could have some more science notes from David Banner right now. That would help tremendously because this just does not make any
Absolutely.
sense. 1 year later, 1 year later, Betty's got a brand new lab, which looks a lot nicer. I don't know what bullfrogs she's blowing up now. Ross calls her, which is supposed to be an improvement in their relationship. But once again, he's still just calling to talk about Bruce. This movie fails the Bechdel test like the Titanic failed at ice fishing. Just no survivors. And then, so we've seen the worst ending of all time. And then, seriously, the worst ending of all time. Meanwhile, in the fucking rainforest, all these poor people in the Amazon lining up to get medicine from some, volunteers who are giving out medicine. And some random local warlord busts in with guns and they want to take everything. They want to take the medicine and the goats and the old women and everybody. They want everything. And there's Bruce Banner with a terrible, scraggly rainforest hipster beard. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, at the beginning when I said I wanted to see Bruce with facial hair, like I should have been more specific. This is not what I wanted. And the warlord looks Bruce in the eye and Bruce says, "You're making me angry. You wouldn't like me when I'm angry." And he starts turning green. And there's a crane shot that flies up out of the crucial rainforest out into space, and we hear the Hulk roaring, which means Bruce Banner, what he decided to do with his life is to go to one of the most vital and imperiled habitats in the world so that he could turn into a rage monster and destroy it. And that is the end of this terrible movie. What is he going to do? What is he going to do right now that's going to be helpful to the Amazon as the Hulk?
Yeah.
It's not good.
And it had such a like, oh, he said the thing,
I know, right?
sort of like, oh God, and
Yeah,
of course, when I saw it in the theater, it got hoots and laughs of, oh, we know where this is headed.
yeah.
Oh,
And that's the movie.
that is the movie.
So let's talk about toys.
Let's.
I've been doing this lately. I think this might be how I end these stupid episodes because I want to check in on how you market this terrible movie to children. Toy Biz had the license in 2003. Now you're actually a toy. You're a real toy guy.
I'm a toy guy.
Toy Biz had the license in 2003, and they made so much stuff. It's amazing. Hulk is pretty easy to merchandise, I think, because he's enormous and he's bright green and he doesn't really look like anything else in the world. And so if you see that color on a toy store shelf, like that's the Hulk. Unfortunately, like he doesn't wear costumes or do anything really except like swing his fists and scream. He doesn't have any vehicles. He's not Batman like in Batman Forever where you get like 3 different vehicles and stuff. But they made so many variations. So I looked at the action figures and I love them because there's Rampaging Hulk and Throwing Hulk, who comes with a boulder, Rapid Punch Hulk, Superposable Leaping Hulk with catapult launching action. There is Twist and Slam Hulk with collapsible brick wall. There is Smash and Go Hulk with breakable tank. There is Battle Action Hulk, which is great because it has smashing action, punching action, and kicking action. So you get all kinds of things. And the thing that's hilarious to me is that these are all exactly the same toy.
Yeah.
If you are playing with your Hulk action figure and you have a Hulk action figure in your hand, I know exactly what you're going to do with this. And it is exactly what Bruce does with his monster and monkey plush in the movie. You take it and you wave it around and you go, ah! And then you smash everything and you go bang, 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 bang with the Hulk. You don't even need to use his like kicking because you're just standing there with the figure in your hand and just like smashing stuff. And they created this huge line of these like tiny little distinctions and variations between them and like one little extra prop.
They did. I remember going to the toy aisle and seeing all of them. I had a figure from this line. I couldn't tell you which one it was. I can
Doesn't
tell
matter.
you it doesn't matter. It was whichever one was cheapest and had the fewest extra things that came with it.
Right.
Because I was like, those are going in a cardboard box or the trash. Like,
Yeah.
I just want the Hulk to sit on my shelf.
Yeah, going, which,
Yeah, and I was like, and
any
he
one of those you could
accomplished
take.
that.
Yeah, yeah.
I do remember the thing that really sold from this. I don't think the action figures sold hugely well because of the aforementioned problem.
Right.
But the Hulk hands, this is the dawn of the
The
Hulk
electronic toys. Yeah.
hand. Was I remember like kids in the neighborhood. I never saw them with like the 13-inch doll, or I
Right.
never saw them with the action figures. I remember seeing kids like just around town wearing Hulk hands.
Electronic Hulk hands with smash and bash sound effects.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is fantastic. Like that's actually that's a great toy.
I was deeply jealous they hadn't existed when I was a child.
Yeah.
I do think Hulk appeals to little kids on a certain level, which is why it's so insane that this movie was so aimed squarely at like snooty adults who don't have anything to back it up. Like he's every kid understands being frustrated, and every kid understands wanting to knock things over and control their environment that way. And there's nothing in the movie that reads to kids. You couldn't take them to it if you wanted to. So
no,
I imagine a lot of the stuff that sold, those kids didn't see the movie till they were into high school or something.
Yeah, they made three of these. They made three of these electronic toys. There's the electronic Hulk hands with smash and bash sound effects. There's also the electronic Rage Cage with sounds and breakout action, which is nice.
Okay.
And the electronic Hulk voice changing mask, which also
right,
that must have been pretty sweet. I don't remember that. I remember the hands. I don't remember the voice changing mask, which is pretty awesome.
I remember I didn't get one because it was too small for my giant head.
Right.
But I found it very entertaining.
Yeah. A couple more interesting toy moments. They also made a Hulk dog.
Oh.
They only made one. And I looked at a website of a guy with an amazing Hulk toy collection. And he explained that they only made the one Hulk. So it wasn't the poodle, which is disappointing because that's the only one that you want. It was like just the big kind of square looking one. And he said that they were basically peg warmers. You know, everybody bought all the Hulk ones. Nobody wanted to buy the dog at the time. And therefore, like, they got thrown away. And so now they're actually very rare and expensive for a collector who wants one. But you got to be sad if you want a Hulk dog. Anyway, and unfortunately, like so the reason why they have to have all these like Hulk figures is because there aren't any other characters that you can really make toys for. Because the main antagonist is Nick Nolte stamping his feet and going, rah! And you can't turn that into an action figure, except that they did. Oh. It's amazing. They made a David Banner with interchangeable arms and legs, and it looks terrible. It's like each of his arms and legs are like he's absorbing like a different thing, and you can kind of like swap him in and out.
Oh, wow.
Ryan Steens, thank you so much for coming on the show. Where can people find you?
You can find me at signal-watch.com, and they will find blog entries and tabs to get to the podcast. We're also on YouTube at the Signal Watch Podcast, off of YouTube. So
awesome.
Look, if you look for just Signal Watch, apparently that's like some small town city council. So don't look for that.
Don't do that. Look for blog, podcast.
Yeah, Signal Watch Podcast.
And for more comedy about the history of superhero movies, you can go to my blog at superheroeseveryday.com. If you like the show, please leave a review, or you could reach me on Twitter, on Facebook, or on the blog. It would be great to hear from you. And please tell the people in your life about the show. I think they deserve it. And coming next week on the Superheroes Everyday podcast, Trevor Bolliger returns to the program to talk with me about the 2021 MCU macro disaster, Eternals. It is 5000 BC in Mesopotamia, which is a good place for it.
I just find his character to be so dreadfully dull. I think it might be one of the most dull characters in the MCU. And Jeremy Renner is in the MCU.
You know, you say that you want MCU movies to be more different from each other, and then they do this, and you realize, oh, it was better the regular way.
You know what this is? This is space robot succession. They are all very wealthy, they're all very out of touch, and they just don't know how to actually interact with average humans.
Kanye, this is not okay. This is not acceptable. I don't care that you're a huge cosmic robot with lights on your face. You did not make the sun. All right, get excited for that. Come back next week for the Superheroes Everyday podcast. Thanks for listening. Love you. Bye.
Yeah. You weak little speck of human trash.